This is the Spokane Soccer Show live at Flatstick Pub, and I am your host, Benji Wade. Look at these two. On today's show, Zephyr FC have taken 13 points from their last 6 matches. Quick math, there were 18 points and they got 13 of them as they prepare to face league leaders Dallas Trinity this Saturday. Velocity FC, meanwhile, earned their most convincing win yet with a 4-0 beatdown of Greenville Triumph. They will take on League One newcomers Texoma FC on Sunday. And joining me to serve up only the best vibes about all things soccer in the fine city of Spokane, Washington, it's my friends Mike Pellicio and Jesse Retan. Welcome back to the show, Jesse and Mike.
What up?
Thank you for having us.
It has been a minute. Before we hit record, they were just like yappy, and then they just get super, look at them, they're so
scared.
nervous. You're so scared.
I don't want to say anything incriminating.
Tomorrow is 1 year since we recorded the other podcast.
It's incredible.
I didn't mean that to happen.
Nor did I. We actually talked about whether it had happened in March or not. So
Exactly. I thought it was, and then I went back and looked at it, and we went to an Open Cup game where Velocity hosted LA Force, and they won that game. Late winner off of a deflection off of a Andre Lewis shot, Luis Hill, like minute 85 or something. And then we had you on the podcast to talk about that game and to talk about your history as being part of the soccer scene in Spokane. And that's been a year tomorrow. Anyway, Jesse, you are currently Director of Coaching for Spokane Shadow boys teams. Okay? Mike, you are, I don't know how this is possible. I had to have Jesse confirm this because it didn't make sense to me. You're the head coach of both the Mount Spokane girls high school soccer team and the Shadle Park boys high school soccer teams. Okay, start here. What happened to the Spokane Shadow men's first team? Because the last time you were on the podcast, Jesse was captain of that team. You were head coach. What did you just do to my life? I'm upset. We'll start there.
I couldn't tell you what happened to it. I can tell you what happened to my involvement.
Go.
And being a teacher and running high school soccer programs is a massive conflict with continuing to be the men's first team coach. So I couldn't do it anymore. And it sounds like maybe they're going to take a year off as a result.
Jesse,
is that about right, Jesse?
What's your perspective on it, Captain?
Yeah, I think for the club as a whole, it is a piece that is potentially difficult to manage and get the right person to coach the team. It's a lot of effort and work for not much pay.
Yeah, sure.
And kind of the league layout is quite a bit different. We've moved from...
It was last year. It was EPL.
Yeah, so there's like a EPL WA League, which is like essentially an amateur league. It's fairly organized. We had a second team in the CPL, which is a little less organized. We have had a team between 2017, 2020 in the MPSL, which is no longer super flourishing.
No.
So there's kind of like some teams have left the EPL WA, some teams, like there's just a real void in amateur semi-pro soccer in general.
Okay.
So I think we would like to have that piece of development for our oldest players and current college level players, and I think it's good for the community and for players. But we just, I think, as directors and coaches, we've sat down and looked at the viability of it, and we've chose to take a year off. So
for my listeners, EPL WA is Evergreen Premier League, Washington. That's a little bit of background about the two of you. Any other thoughts about what you're doing with your current soccer lives in Spokane and like your coaching and your...
I'm also teaching a D license next week.
Wait, what does that mean?
For U.S. Soccer, the coaching licenses.
Yeah.
So you start with grassroots, and then you go on to D, C, B, A, youth, or pro.
Okay.
There's a D license in Spokane next week if anyone's looking for it.
Oh. What would D, and what if you get a D license, where does that put you in the soccer landscape as a coach?
Better than you were before?
I think
man.
just a comment on that.
You're not a parent coach anymore. Is that what I'm hearing?
There's parent coaches in this course that I will be teaching.
Okay.
But it is 55 hours of your time. So it's kind of like taking a college course. So it does signify that your intent is to develop training sessions on your own, be critical, reflect, and try to improve. That's kind of where it puts you.
Just to
Yeah.
piggyback off that, I'm currently in my B license course, and both Mike and I are big believers in coaching education and personal development and pushing like kind of your boundaries of your understanding of the game and how to be a better leader and how to manage training sessions and how to manage players and teams more effectively. And so, yeah, these courses are like a lot of time and effort, and they're very challenging and like very fun too, very enjoyable. And I think coaches that pursue them are clearly have intent to like learn beyond what their sphere of influence is. Like there's only so much you can do within the Spokane sphere, and going outside of that to pursue more knowledge and understanding of the game is massive. And it's something that Mike's a big believer in, that I'm like, he's teaching courses, so that's massive. Like that's something as a director of coaching that we've seen and found is that education is probably our absolute biggest piece. Educating parents, players, people, the community, hence what you're doing. Like it's so important for us to share our knowledge of the game and have a better understanding of the game, so that we can help our youth players, so that we can help our pro teams, so that we can we can develop players into the Velocity team or whatever. So it's such a big piece to
Like
what we're doing.
what I think I'm hearing, maybe a little bit between the lines, and maybe because I've had enough conversations with the two of you over the last year about this topic, is the development gap. Like where the needs are in terms of developing not just players. That gets way too much ink, I think, and way too much conversation. But also, you mentioned parents.
Yeah.
Parents and coaches also need to be developed.
Absolutely.
Parents have a lot of idiotic opinions about not just the sport, but how it should be played and how their kids should be trained and all those other things.
You said that, not me.
Oh, I'll say it loud. Talk to me about the gap and the opportunity, the coaching gap in terms of competencies and training and licensure and that kind of stuff.
So this is fantastic territory to go into, and culturally I think we're very different from Seattle in terms of our understanding of the game, our knowledge of the game, and just our overall I think in Spokane, I think basketball and football are probably your two most popular sports. I think in Seattle, soccer is your most popular sport, if not fighting for that title. And I think youth coaches that have been competing with that layer for a long time, that's been the biggest piece and biggest takeaway, is that how do we do a better job, be more effective at creating culture and education and creating a love and desire to be around the sport for the community as a whole, so that we're not losing kids to burnout or losing kids to other sports, or we're just keeping people engaged with the sport, because it's a beautiful game. And I think people are missing out on all the wonderful things that the game can teach you throughout your life and beyond, in just being a fan and being a supporter and playing pickup, whatever it is, and watching on Saturdays, on Sundays. I think some of us in this community are missing that, and I think we could, as people within it, we have a big piece and we can help build that, and yourself as well.
You recently sent me, it was a moment in a game where the team that you're coaching, the Shadle Park boys team, was losing to Mount Spokane, which is, was it Mount Spokane?
Totally. Which
is hilarious because you coached their women's team. Now this is coming back to me, and I find it even funnier that I posted that clip that you sent me. But I loved it. The Shadle Park team was losing to Mount Spokane. But here they come. They score a goal late because they didn't stop playing. They played to the final whistle. And it was just this moment where I thought, that's meeting the opportunity to coach players who are in this situation where things aren't going well, et cetera. But I want to call attention. I think part of the opportunity here is that all of these players and parents and coaches that are involved at youth soccer, rec soccer, some club soccer locally, I still don't think there's enough visibility to the fact that we have 2 professional freaking teams playing here. You know, yes, we just signed our first ever player, Rocky Wells, to I can't remember the exact name designation of the contract, but it's effectively allows Rocky to maintain amateur status and be able to play club or high school or college, but he can be added to the roster for Velocity FC and maintain that status. So
yeah, I think it's called the USL Academy contract is the type of contract Rocky got. But yeah, no, so like to touch on that, yeah, like my boys are losing by quite a few goals. Like it's safe to say we're not going to win that game, but there's still soccer to be played. Like you could just kick the ball out of bounds and bunker in and be tight and try not to concede there. But Asher Reynolds backheels the ball. 2 players, quick one-touch pass. Jamie Ying Clark splits the defense, and Jospin Imona has a one-on-one. Like we train that every day. We try all those little components every day.
Yeah.
So, like, when your team's getting your butt kicked, sometimes you just want to pout as a coach. Jesse does every time.
He does.
I mean, you can't, though. So, like, while I wanted to just sit there and be like, meh, just, you know, trying to stand up and be encouraging, and if that's all I did is encourage them and they come up with that, then I guess I'll stand every game when we're getting our butt kicked at the end. Like, that's cool. So, I thought that was wonderful, and I'm so fortunate that you were willing to repost it because the boys are jacked. Like, they just want to see their goal on Instagram. They're that simple.
Legitimately, anybody out there, yes, I have a friendship with these 2 knuckleheads, but if you have a piece of content, a moment from a player, it doesn't have to be just a player. It could be anything relevant to the beautiful game being played in Spokane. Send it to me. I'm happy to shout it out, and I will spend the time as a media professional. I think people have figured it out that my day job is making media. Like, send me the stuff, and I'll create a clip out of it. I'll shout some young player out. I love it. I started the podcast by following college soccer for a reason. Okay, Jesse, we can't let you off the hook. We have to talk about something. We had Pierre Reedy and Colin Fernandez on the podcast, and the topic of fly fishing came up just like it did on the very first podcast we did with you 2. And I want to hear about Silver Bow Fly Shop, and tell me about what you're up to these days as an angler out on these waters in the 509.
Yeah, those are my boys. Shout out Pierre Reedy, Colin Fernandez.
Yeah.
Reedy, initially when we did the podcast, and I was talking about fishing, Reedy slid into my DMs and was like, hey, you go fishing? And
Just like that?
he
Totally.
said, do you go fishing?
That's actually a pretty good impersonation.
yeah,
of you.
I do.
Sorry, Speedy Reedy. Speedy Reedy, that's a pretty good impersonation of you, man.
So I actually started a group chat with him and Colin and call it Fishing and Footy Bros. And
I'm so mad about this. You know what? Actually, we're going to pause this. It was my idea. Listeners, I brought it up on that podcast when I had these 2 on, and then I wanted to go. And I was like, hey, you know what we'll do? We'll do a Spokane soccer show from a boat, and it'll be all these players, and everybody will have a great time. And no, they just peel off, and they leave me and you.
Yeah, Jesse's like, I'm too busy fishing with Pierre and Colin. I can't go with you and Benji.
Exactly. I'm like, what? That was my idea. I want to go.
this is true.
Doesn't matter. I'm so stoked it happened.
But yeah, I do guided fly fishing trips on the Spokane River for Silver Bow Fly Shop.
Thank you.
During basically June to October, we can do trips in November. It's not very warm or very nice, but that's kind of our guide season.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's interesting. It's kind of similar to coaching in that I'm consistently coaching anglers and telling them to mend and lead the boat and like set. Except they're like generally older and don't want to listen to me. But no, it's a lot of fun.
But these 2 Padawan who also have day jobs as soccer players for Velocity FC, they're into it and they listen to you.
They're
intimidated AF by you, by the way. we had stuff that didn't even make the podcast. They were like, they just looked at me and they're like, if we go fishing with Jesse though, we don't get to catch any fish because he catches them all.
They're getting better. Reedy was gone all winter.
Yeah, he was.
And Colin and I got out quite a bit, which is big time to get out in the winter. That's when you know, like,
That's hardcore.
You can get after it, and
Yeah.
he got better at his nymphing game, and I
Okay. I'll take your word for it.
it's been cool to just like share all the knowledge with those two, because they're from Chicago and
Yeah.
Philadelphia, and they have no idea about any of the waterways or any of the geographical features or how anything works. Like they're just so excited to learn about it and just willing to get out and do whatever and traipse around, and it's just super fun sharing. I enjoy sharing that, and that's part of the guide service is like sharing the natural history and geology and native history and entomology and everything. I'm kind of a naturalist at heart, so I am super passionate about botany, like you name it.
Yeah.
Anything that exists, flora, fauna out here, I'm all about it. If you ever see me posting pictures of wildflowers, perennial
I
wildflowers,
definitely have.
or insects, whatever.
Yeah.
I enjoy that stuff as well as football.
Listen, we're going to make it happen. I brought it up on the podcast last year, and then it turned into you having like a bromance with Pierre and Colin. Is there anything funnier than meeting Colin Fernandez, sizing him up, taking a good look at this man, and then listening to him have the thickest Chicago accent? When I had it on the podcast, I was like,
Yeah,
man,
bud.
Yeah, bud. He's got such a the Bears. It's like he's so Chicago.
He loves
my
it.
God, through and through. Yeah. Shout out Colin Fernandez, Downers Grove, Illinois. And he's got an accent to match the place where he's from. Okay, I'm going to do some shout outs.
Okay.
Do you guys have any shout outs off the top of your head, or are you going to just roll with mine? I didn't give you much time to
Can
think
I
about
give
this.
a couple shout outs?
Go for it.
First, Silver Bow Fly Shop.
Silver Bow Fly Shop. Mm-hmm. Shout
Second,
out.
Spokane Shadow Youth Soccer Club.
Spokane Shadow Youth Soccer Club. Let's go.
I'm going to give one more.
Do it. Plug away.
Spokane Riverkeeper.
Spokane Riverkeeper. I'm familiar.
Massive.
Eliza Billingham, wherever you are, shout out for your piece in the Inlander. It was fantastic. She wrote about the stories of Molly Rouse, Andre Lewis, Thais Hayes, and Nil Vinyals coming to the U.S. many years ago. And it's a great piece that covers essentially what is like their journey of going from being these international soccer players and what that looks like from college to the professional game. Shout out Sophie Braun. Speaking of international play, she played in 2 international friendlies in the last week. Did you guys know about this?
No.
For the Argentinian national team, they were playing in a couple friendlies in British Columbia against Canada. They lost the first game 3-0 5 days ago, but they bounced back to win the second game 1-0 yesterday, despite having one of her teammates, goalkeeper Solana Pereira, sent off in minute 77. She came outside the box, handled the ball, and the ref was like, "You're not really giving much choice, kid. You're out." And they survived. They went on to win the game 1-0. So
They beat Canada?
They beat Canada.
That's a big result.
It is a huge result because Canada is legit. Casey Stoney. Shout out Declan Rice's free kicks yesterday against Real Madrid. If you didn't realize, this guy over here, Jesse Retan, is a huge Arsenal fan. Declan Rice scored a couple free kicks against Real Madrid in the Champions League, first leg, and the first one was just absolutely stunning, minute 60, and you thought, Declan Rice will never do that again for the rest of his career. Well, it took him 10 minutes, and he did it again, and he did it better. Just go watch the highlights. The second free kick that he took was just insane. It will go in the dictionary as like a definition of upper 90.
Top bins.
Just insane. Top bins. Thibaut Courtois, if you didn't know, is one of the world's best goalkeepers. On the first one, he was interviewed. Shout out Joe Sheehan, friend of the pod. He told me about this interview. Thibaut Courtois said after the game that the first one, I could have done something about it. I could have moved my wall, whatever. But the second one, you got to be kidding me. Shout out Boise's new USL League One team. They sold 2,500 season ticket deposits in their first 7 days. That's a USL record, apparently. And just for context, Spokane sold 5,000 season ticket deposits overall before playing their first game. So soccer is growing in the United States, folks, and it's a lot to be excited about. All right, let's take a quick break. When we return, we're going to talk about these recent results for Velocity FC. They had 3 games in 7 days, and the 3 of us are going to talk all about those games. The presenting sponsor of the Spokane Soccer Show is Flat Stick Pub, the best pub experience in the state of Washington. Local craft beer and wine, signature cocktails, brick oven-baked pizza, Bavarian pretzels, and the best watch parties for our beloved Zephyr and Velocity FC. If you're not there with me watching soccer, grab a putter and play some mini golf or duffel board or check out the golf simulator. I have to say, as a disgustingly competitive person myself, there's literally nothing more entertaining than having a beverage and flexing on your friends in a game of mini golf. It's a perfect icebreaker too. Maybe first date. I think they wanted a Best of Inlander for first date, which makes a ton of sense. You'll never have a socially awkward moment again if you spend your social outings at Flatstick. Don't take my word for it. Head down to Flatstick in downtown Spokane or go to flatstickpub.com to book a tea time or check out their latest tap list. The Spokane Soccer Show is supported by Spokane City Credit Union. Are you still a member of a big dumb bank? Didn't I tell you to stop it? I don't even have to tell you which banks I mean. You all know the ones I'm talking about. Well, once upon a time, credit unions were wisely described as a not-for-profit, not for charity, but for service. And SCCU still holds that philosophy today. At a bank, you're just a customer. At a credit union, you're both a member and a shareholder. Throughout 2025, I will be updating my listeners about SCCU's commitment to the Greater Spokane Parks Challenge. Speaking of great parks, first up is our crown jewel, aka Riverfront Park. Be sure to join me and our friends at the Northwest Autism Center on April 26th down at the Ice Age Playground for the annual 5K Walk, Run, or Roll Steps for Autism. Come join us to celebrate community, inclusion, and awareness of autism by registering now at stepsforautism.org. So I want to start with the good news. And we'll talk a lot about this game for a couple reasons, I think. One, this is the Velocity FC 4 Greenville Triumph 0. I want to talk a lot about this game because that's the most goals we've put past a team. It was also the first start for newcomers David Garcia and Lucky Opara, and it was the first start for Nico Brett starting at center forward, but he only made it 17 minutes before being subbed off with a hamstring injury. Just tell me what your, other than the goals, what your thoughts were on that game.
I thought we were really dangerous, as you'd expect, with a 4-0 victory, but like a lot more dangerous than we'd been the year prior.
Yeah.
So if we're looking at the team evolving, I think that we were able to threaten in behind a lot more. I think that more players were able to offer like that killer pass, even though it was often Lucky doing it, but like it's not just Luis. And I thought Pierre was a complete nightmare for them. Like he was a handful. So that was really cool to see all those things come together in a way that like last year, maybe one of those things might have happened. But it was great that they all came together all at once, and we got a resounding victory, and it was a great way to start our season. I mean, not start, but to begin our campaign, really.
Yeah.
I thought it was a great game.
Yeah. What about you, Jesse? You remember that game?
That was the one game that I had on my phone lightly.
Yeah.
And then I was coaching, and I did see Luis's goals, which were both one-touch tap-ins.
Hilarious, yeah, dude. They're like identical, yeah.
Yeah, they were great. So, having watched all the other games, the theme for me is, like you said, Coach Lee getting a feel for the roster and what his best 11 is and how he can fit the pieces in.
Yeah.
And then, can we score goals on the day? I think, and that was massive for us to get those goals and for the team to see those goals go in the back of the net. And then knowing that I think when we do score goals, I think we can beat anyone. That's really it for me. And then, it's just great to see Reedy get back in and get some minutes under him and get back to fitness and be that dynamic player that he is and run forward and be creative and create a lot of problems for the opposition.
I agree with your observation about Pierre because one of his best games last year, he didn't end up with any goal contributions, but he was just a menace. When we went to Greenville last year as our very first game in League One, he was one of the best players that Velocity had. So I'll go over a couple of notes from this, and then if anything jumps out as far as these goals that happen, I just want to describe. I think this is an important game to key in on because it's the most convincing win we've had, and it's in a game where the other team gave up a lot, and they were not at their best. So Ben Zakowski, Carlos Anguiano both try to press Andre Lewis, but that leaves Lucky Opara totally alone on the touchline. Nico Brett's being marked by a center half, Evan Lee, but Anguiano is, in particular, as a 6 is nowhere near the play. Luis Hill's on a shopping spree in the Greenville box. He basically points to where he wants the ball, and Lucky's like, oh, is that where you want it? Okay, here you go. The other center half, Brandon Frick, tries to help out, but the only thing he actually accomplishes is playing Luis onside. Very clean finish, low to the ground, near post, beats the goalkeeper, Gunther Rankenberg. He has no shot. It's 1-0. And this was the first start, keep in mind, for Lucky Opara at right back. And it didn't take until the 11th minute for him to just be like, I've got game. Minute 27, we get our second goal. It's great link play from Anwar Pelaez, who's at the halfway line. He sees Siobhan John Brown tracking back in the half space on the opposite side of the pitch, which creates all the space in the world down the right channel for Lucky Opara again. Siobhan John Brown passes to Andre Lewis. Andre sees Lucky. He's 20 yards from Luis Hill, who's splitting the center backs on another center forward run. Greenville defense looks, positively shambolic at this point. You were texting me about it, and I want to hear your note about what Greenville's defense looked like. Once again, Anguiano, the 6, the central defensive midfielder, is nowhere near the play. He's 20 yards from Luis Hill, who's splitting the center backs, making another center forward run, gets over the shoulder of Brandon Frick. Lucky waits a second pass, almost identical to the first goal, only difference being Luis takes a perfect, delicate touch, beats Rankenberg near post butt again, and it's 2-0. All credit to Luis Hill. Both these goals were from center forward position. But tell me, Mike, what you thought and what you were sharing with me about the defending from Greenville during this time period.
So unfortunately, I don't have anything clever to say, like Gary Neville describing David Luiz as being controlled by an 8-year-old with a PlayStation controller, which he did once. But from a coaching perspective, we have these things called game cues. So it's like an if-then statement.
Uh-huh.
And one of our game cues, most coaches have this game cue even if they don't understand it. If their back line is broken apart, we'll run through it. So like if a center back steps out to mark a guy into the midfield, that's fine, but like we'll run through that gap. Like that's the hope. Every time they broke their back line apart, we ran right through those gaps. And those 2 goals are really good examples of it.
At that point, low block kind of comes out, and it's hard to blame Coach Wiedemann. Minute 51 reminds me of last year, okay, when I was talking about Pierre in the game that he had. He had this huge headed opportunity saved in the bottom of the goal. He creates a ton of space with a great run down the left, switches play, the ball ends up at the right to Siobhan John Brown, who sends it across. It's on a platter, but Pierre's effort hits the crossbar as he almost kind of runs into Anwar Pelaez. Do you guys remember this moment?
I do. I remember commenting to you and Jesse in the text that last year we had 0 players attacking that ball, and this year we have 2.
Let's go. Don't love that they tripped into each other, but at least we have the players trying to do something on the end of that cross. That's fantastic. Minute 66, Lucky Opara's brought down in the box. Do you remember this? The penalty shot? The penalty?
Oh, yeah.
It was called? Okay. I thought it was a little harsh. Looked a little shoulder to shoulder. What are your thoughts on it?
Didn't see that
I
moment.
thought that it was a wee bit harsh.
Yeah.
If you take it through the filter of it's in the penalty area,
Yeah.
that's pretty much never a foul. But
Yeah.
like it was a foul. Like he fouled the player.
Okay, I
If
thought
that's
so
in the
too.
center circle, no problem.
Because Lucky was in front of Polak. He had the ball. He had wrapped his leg around the ball, as you should do, to kind of shield it, even as an attacker. And Polak kind of took a nibble. So, yeah it was a
foul.
little harsh, but Luis Hill took a really horrible penalty. Do you remember that part?
Sometimes that happens.
Minute 73, second ball off a clearance, a counter. Velocity's counter pressing. Luis Hill plays Siobhan John Brown in down the right. Excellent cross from Pelaez in behind, but he gets just enough of a touch. The defender tries to clear the ball. It's in the back of the net. Probably an own goal. Do you remember this goal? Looked a little own goal. She was weird. A weird goal. Because Anwar kind of ends up his back to the goal and puts a heel on it a little bit. It's odd.
Kind of put it in that area. You don't really care what happens to
That's
it, right?
it ends up in the back of the net, so it's 3-0. And then I think our best team goal, one of our best team goals as a club, minute 83, Ish Jome in a center forward position, which I thought was a little bit unusual. I don't think I've seen Ish typically running around those spaces. He plays the ball back to Colin, who finds Derek attacking down the left channel. Ish Jome and Anwar Pelaez switch places. Derek plays the ball in for Jome. He runs down toward the end line. Anwar keeps making a run into the middle of the box. Jome 5 holes Brandon Frick. Brandon Frick's going to have nightmares from this game. In case you have, every time I've mentioned his name, it's after conceding. He gets 5-holed on a squared pass to the near post. Anwar is there to slot it past Rankenberg. Fantastic team goal, and it's 4-0. And that's all she wrote. Any thoughts about this game? About like what were your feelings about it when you were soaking in a 4-0 victory for Velocity FC? It's been a minute since we've done a podcast where we talk about Velocity FC, so we're going to have a lot of feels to get through here, folks.
My feelings were that we had put together something we can be proud of as a club, which is really nice because like last year, I feel like so many times we'd be like, dude, we played really well and we're doing all the right things. And like myself and Jesse, we'd be like, we believe that this team can do it. Did you do it today? No, we didn't do it today. Like that was the narrative so many times. So I just felt great. And I was at a watch party at Lumberbeard.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, like it was great to be around all Velocity and Zephyr fans. Sophie Braun was there. I won the owner's parking spot for a game in the raffle.
You told me about this. Did you end up using that to park at the Portland Hearts of Pine game?
I considered it, but Riley said, I texted her that morning. I'm like, is it too late? She's like, yeah, it's too late. Let me know with more. So the good news is you can go with me when I use it now.
Oh, so you still get to use it?
I still get to use it.
Oh,
any
sick.
game I want.
No, take this dork. Come on.
I mean, yeah.
I ride my bike.
He rides his bike there. You can park your bike there.
He'll refuse. He'll refuse the ride to the game. He'll be, I'm taking my bike.
Yeah.
I will.
All right.
There you go. But yeah, it was great to be around Velocity fans for a game like that and enjoy yourself and see it all come together because, I mean, we know like it doesn't always come together.
No.
You have to find the positives. Maybe there aren't positives there. Maybe last year at times there, were or weren't positives. You had to look for them. We didn't have to look for any of them. They're just right there for you to figure out.
What about you, Jesse? Any thoughts about this game? Hey, we've never won a game by a 4-goal margin, and especially not in a clean sheet situation. So.
To travel that far,
and
a team that in the past has been really strong. It was super.
After the Naples loss, to be clear.
Yeah.
So,
And to get Luis 2 goals and get a good 4-0 team win is massive.
It's awesome.
And great starting point for the rest of the season.
One of the highest XGs we have reached as a club, 2.89 to Greenville's 1.25. Let's get this out of the way. Greenville are now and will continue to be one of the best clubs in League One. I don't want anybody who's not familiar with the rest of the league to think, oh, we just must have beat up on some crappy team. No, Greenville will be at the top of the table at the end of the season. They'll be in the top half, certainly. I thought David Garcia was our best defender in that game, and Lucky was deserved man of the match. He had 2 assists. He drew a penalty. He could have had another assist or 2. He was just balling out everywhere. And then, of course, contributing defensively. So Lucky Opara has ingratiated himself quite well to Velocity FC. Before the game, I'm going to go ahead and confess something. Luis had a pretty poor game against Naples. And how it's great that we now have depth and competition for the spot at the 10 and that kind of central attacking role in midfield. But Luis very much reminded us, with bagging a brace on 2 very, very tidy finishes, and he had another tidy finish in this game week. It shows why he is nailed on and why it will take a hell of a lot more than one kind of poor performance for Luis's position in this team to become under threat. So,
can we make another Wire reference?
Go, yeah.
The king stay the king.
This guy.
Yeah.
You liked my
lot.
My Wire quote.
I got it before you labeled it a Wire quote.
Let them know.
Oh yeah.
We back up. All right. So, pretty outstanding performance from every player on the team. Pierre hit the post twice, to Jesse's earlier point about Pierre being back. Speaking of being back, he looked like the March 2024 version of Pierre Reedy, and you just love to see it. Love that guy.
I love to see it.
All right. I'm gonna go with the Portland Hearts of Pine game next. So, Velocity FC 0, Portland Hearts of Pine 0. We got 2 opportunities during this game week of the 3 games to see what we look like against a team employing a low block, going into their shell, as I often say, or parking the bus, whatever description you want to use of a team that's like, look, we're just going to stay behind the ball and we're not going to let you come in and score goals, all right? And in this particular game, got to be honest with you, I was pretty bummed out that this is what this Portland Hearts of Pine team has to offer. I wasn't impressed by how they played. I just want to start there. So tell me what your impressions were. And don't forget, this is not Portland in Oregon, folks. It's Portland in Maine. So what were your thoughts? I want to start with, what were your thoughts about the way Portland played? Is it a team we haven't seen before?
I thought they were quite, again, I don't want to overanalyze the opposition in terms of shredding them, but if I'm them, I'm saying, oh, we traveled to Spokane and got a point.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I think that they competed, and I think that we noticed their left back in their back three
Oh no.
was blocked a lot of shots, and I think they were, again, is that our inability to score or their ability to defend? But they didn't look incredible, and it was one of, unlike Knoxville, we were the better side by a landslide. We had more opportunities, we had more of the ball, we had more desire to actually go win the game, while they were okay getting a draw, and that was pretty clear.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
The draw against Knoxville did not look like this draw, not in the XG game and not in just overall how it felt. What were your thoughts, Mike, about the play of Portland, and also about just overall thoughts on the game?
Yeah, I thought Portland was fine. So I didn't really have anything bad to say about the way they played and how they defended. They played in a 3 or a 5 in the back, whatever you want to call it. But they didn't drop all the way into a 5. Their two wingbacks kind of stayed a couple yards higher.
Sure.
Which I think spoke to their intent of what they were looking to, try to accomplish.
And what I'm going to translate for both of these guys. What they were looking to accomplish was to come to Spokane and get a point. They had no intention of scoring a goal. They wanted a 0-0 draw, and they got it.
That's Benji's opinion, and that's maybe Jesse's. But I think that they've mapped out a clear way, 2 ways that they could maybe get a goal.
Yeah.
We pressed them really aggressively in their build. And when they bypass that press, and Andre's gone because he's pressing, and it's just Colin, they could ride through the middle and they could create something, and they did 3v3, 4v4 at times. It didn't come to a goal, thank God.
Yeah.
And then the other ones were just on, quick counter. So on their build, if they got past our first press, which they often didn't, and then a quick counter in transition, that was their opportunities. I don't know what their XG was, you may tell me, but it couldn't have been awful.
I'm not going to tell you.
Yeah, but it couldn't have been terrible because they did get running at our back line. That said, I don't remember. I remember them shooting our goal.
They had one chance down the left that they just missed wide, and it was actually a pretty good chance.
It was, and it went far post, right at the frame.
Early on.
I remember standing next to you too.
That was all of their XG.
It was most of their XG.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, because I don't know what's going on, man. I'm going to take a moment. I'm going to do a little tangent and dunk on USL for the things that they consider the Modelo play of the game. They give it to Carlos. Folks, Carlos had a perfectly fine game. He was tidy at the back. I think that the addition of David Garcia to that back line is going to be important. I'm going to have notes on that. But the play of the game that they gave to Carlos was the tamest thing. It was shot right at Carlos. It kind of deflected off of him, and then he had to go collect. But they treated it as though he made some worldy stop. It was kind of ridiculous. Because I'll just jump ahead in the notes to tell you why I'm saying that was certainly not a play of the game. I would give I'd probably get the top 2 plays of the game to Siobhan John Brown. The XG for Portland at the end of this game, and why I'm kind of disappointed with how they showed up to play, was .16. That's very low, folks. They had a couple half chances, and so I wasn't super impressed with how they played. I'll just start here. Both teams played in 3 games inside of 1 week. Both teams went to extra time in their Open Cup games. Portland won theirs. We lost ours. So no excuses. There's 3 games in a week. Spokane started again a little too open at the back, which gave up that great shot to Portland early that Jesse's talking about. And I remember that moment. I remember looking at the two of you and being nervous of please don't lack shape at the very beginning of the game like we did against Defiance, and how we ended up conceding early against Defiance. But we survived that. Siobhan John Brown, Lucky Opara in particular, created a lot of chances throughout the game down the right. Pierre Reedy had a header over the bar in minute 20 that was thanks to a lucky cross. He mentioned that at the end of the game. He's like, I got to finish those chances. So I love that I got a chance to chat with Pierre, who didn't have his best game in this game, but he was so good against Greenville that it was great to get to chat with him. I thought our friend Colin Fernandez had one of his best games in the shirt. This is what I got so excited by, is in a game like this, historically, we will give up a smash and grab goal to some quick forward on the counter. And there's 2 players in particular I want to shout out of shutting that shit down. Collins one, the other's David Garcia. They were having none of it. I think that the communication in the back line and that role that Colin plays as our stopper as a 6, I think was really, really helpful from preventing Portland from trying to do what you guys described. What Jesse, in fairness, I think you're right. Both of you are right to point out that was a great tactical approach. It didn't work, though, because of the change to the team that we have now. So I feel like this game was really exciting from that perspective. Any thoughts on anything that I just described?
Yeah, that was my first game seeing Garcia on the right side of center back in person, and because I didn't get to catch the whole Greenville match, and he's class. Excellent ball playing center back, owns his space extremely well. Actually doesn't have to put in that many tackles, like I said, because he just owns his sphere.
He's positionally so smart.
Yeah, and he can pass very accurately at distance.
By the way, created 2 chances in this game, which put him second on the team for created chances.
Yep. So that was really, I love watching him. I love that addition. And then I will say, just like, I enjoy watching Reedy because he's just so willing to drive us forward. And I think when I watch Velocity, I really want someone to drive us forward at pace and be direct and create problems. And I love when he does that. I also think our other wingers were good as well. I think Colin is, if you can find me a better 6 in our league, then let me know, because in terms of the metrics that he fulfills defensively and the linking play and shifting the point of attack, he's fantastic. He's class. So I think that I think Lee's looking at that too.
Totally.
Yeah, it sucks that we draw. But I think if I'm coaching staff and players, I'm like, man, we played really well and we had chances to score. And we know we can score 4-0 against Greenville. So we just have to keep going. We have to keep training. So.
Yeah. Another thing I like about Collins, he'll play those balls in behind, and I've seen him doing it a little bit, and I think those returns are coming, especially with his relationship with Pierre, not just as a friend, but as a player. That stuff matters. Relationships matter. That kind of telepathic link of, I think you're going to make that run. I can count on you to make that run. And to your point, it's been since last March where on this podcast, the direct play of Pierre Reedy has been shouted out so many times, and goddamn, it's great to see it again.
Yeah.
And Siobhan John Brown being on the other side?
Yeah. Causes problems. Can I give another shout out?
Go for it.
Derek.
Yeah.
Love, in the first couple of home games, I know I shared with you guys, he was one of our only players that was super willing to drive forward. I
want the listener to know, you're talking about the Naples game where we were pretty poor attacking.
Yeah.
He was one player who was 100% ready to go at Naples. And I just don't think his teammates quite met him there. But, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I mean, as a overlapping outside back, he actually connects a lot of forward passes into our front line. He gets around. He gets balls into the box. He connects really well with Reedy right now. And he puts in dime set pieces everywhere he's at. Big fan. Love Des. Great human, too.
And if you think it's just his left foot, it's not. His attacking intelligence is writ large, and he's also such a clever defender. He knows he's a quote-unquote undersized fullback, but he's constantly, to your point about David, positionally, he's never going to make a huge mistake to leave himself or his team vulnerable.
Yep.
Mike?
So you guys are saying this, and I was a part of the conversation in person, and then I actually ran into Derek, and I got to tell him these things. I was like, man, everyone I was standing with, I didn't even know if I told him it was you guys, but I was like, we just really appreciated that you were trying to push the team on and not content with a draw or a loss or anything. And he gave me a heartfelt thank you. So
Bro,
it was cool to be able to say that to him.
There's no fiercer competitor on our team. And so you put him together with Pierre, it's our left is magnifique. And then on the right, you've got the 2 most lethal fullbacks probably in the league right now, with Waldeck on the left and Lucky Opara linking up with Siobhan John Brown on the right. It's pretty nasty. And I'm getting ahead of myself. Best chance in the game in this Portland Hearts of Pine game was minute 51. Portland attempt to clear the ball. I don't know what this kid was thinking. He's right near the corner flag. He tries to clear the ball. Instead, it ends up right at the feet of Andre Lewis. Andre Lewis looks up. He's like, hey, thanks very much. Siobhan John Brown cuts inside to receive the ball from Andre. Anwar Pillais makes a great center forward run, the type of center forward run that we did not see a lot of last year. And Siobhan pokes the ball outside of his foot into a great run from Anwar. He takes a touch, it's off the post. You remember this moment?
Yeah, yeah.
It was so close, and it was like center mass on the post. One of those ones where it just like bounces straight back out into the box, and you're like, it was so close. Anyway, so that was our best chance of the game, and it went begging. Minute 88, Siobhan John Brown again worked a trio of Portland defenders, like a bunch of rented mules, before finding the Nil Vignals in the middle of the box. He drags it back for Nil Vignals, but his shot is straight at the keeper, unfortunately, and that was ball game. That was our best chance, probably, outside of the one that hit the post. Finishes 0-0, but, you know, to borrow the phrase again from myself of the glass was half full, that game felt kind of like that. It's like, we ended up winning the XG battle. I'll just go ahead and tell the listener. We were 1.44, velocity 1.44, Portland 0.16.
I did pick one thing up, and it's going to tie into the Defiance game, so I can also bring that part up when we get there.
Yeah.
But one of the things that you wanted to chat about today was like kind of our evolution from last year.
Yeah, of course.
And I saw this thing happen twice, and it does tie into what to do when their backline's broken apart. So I will send you the clips because I do have them on my desk or on my laptop. But maybe minute 15, Colin is part of our double pivot, and their line of restraint is somewhere around the top of the 18. And Colin recognizes that their right-sided center back and their right wing back are both high. So Colin makes, and we commented on this in person, a long run past their back line. And he does get played the ball. And I think I made a comment that, like, it's going to take Colin forever to have to get back from there. So if you guys remember that play.
That's a long recovery, Colin.
Right. But this
breathing heavy.
He's breathing heavy. He had to get oxygen on the field. But, like, he would not have made that run. No one from our pivot would last year. Like,
Yeah.
Andre Lewis would have, but when Andre Lewis plays in the double pivot, like, he just does whatever the hell he wants. Like, I suspect if you played him at goalkeeper, he would wander up and take a left-footed volley.
I've made the joke before for listeners that he's basically a second striker who masquerades as a central midfielder, so yeah.
Right. So, like, I saw that happen in this game, and my first instinct, and then I'll talk about it later in the Defiance game, was we would not have done that last year. Our double pivot was so for security and not, it was all business, except for when Andre's there, because Andre just does, I don't think that anyone can control
Andre does what Andre wants to do.
So I think Lee's okay with that when he plays him there.
Yeah.
But I think Lee's idea of a double pivot last year was that they sat there and protected, and the fullbacks might go. And I think this year it's evolving as it should, but it's evolving in good ways.
It's evolving, and I have to, again, I'm going to be very curious to see what this back line looks like with David Garcia providing poise, that positional awareness. It's looking good.
Yeah.
Folks, there is reason for optimism with this team and why we continue to be near the top of power rankings lists.
Yeah, I think to just end with that point is as a community, don't get discouraged with a 0-0 draw. Like, the football was nice, and the team is a great team, and we're a championship-type team, so keep coming to games and keep supporting no matter what.
Here we go. The first thing Lee Wiedemann says to me when I walk down to the corner of the pitch to chat with him after the game, I just have to shout this out because it's so funny. He's so observant, doesn't miss any details. And I'm talking like I'm 15 yards away when he kind of pauses and looks at me. He says, "What's up with the hat?" And I was wearing a Zephyr FC hat that night and not a Velocity FC hat. So I feel like Lee was calling me out for like cursing the team that I wasn't wearing one of my Velocity hats. Doesn't miss a single detail when surveying his life. Hey, could be worse. One of our great friends of the podcast, Nicole Malabai, I'm about to dunk on you, Nicole, and I did this on Discord. I'm going to do it on the podcast just so you can hear it extra, was wearing a Portland Hearts of Pine shirt that night.
I didn't see that.
Because it was quote-unquote college night, and she went to school at the University of Maine, so decided to wear their professional soccer team that competes with Spokane Velocity's shirt? I don't know. Hey, you do you. At least I wasn't wearing a Portland Hearts of Pine shirt. I think Lee would have kicked me in the nuts if that had been the case. So, anyway, let's move on from that game.
If he gave you that reaction for wearing a Zephyr hat, he definitely would have kicked you in the balls.
The Spokane Soccer Show would not be possible without the support of Feast World Kitchen. You know what else wouldn't be possible without Feast World Kitchen? Mouth-watering cuisine from every region of planet Earth. That's what. Feast is a nonprofit that helps immigrants and former refugees in our community become chef entrepreneurs. barbacoa tacos, yum yum Korean fried chicken, ashak dumplings, lasagna bolognese, warbat bilishta, mango mousse. That's just a few of the delicious dishes being served up during restaurant week. And lucky you, because Feast is open every week from Wednesday through Sunday on 3rd Avenue in downtown Spokane. To learn more about Feast World Kitchen, their current menu, or to order some of that delicious food online, go to feastworldkitchen.org. It fills me with joy to announce that Wildland Co-op is a sponsor of the Spokane Soccer Show. What is Wildland Co-op? Wildland is a small farm, it's a brewery, it's a winery, and it's a local goods market. 20 varieties of beer on tap, guaranteed to be something you're going to dig. A range of fantastic wines and tasty non-alcoholic beverages. So pull up an Adirondack chair on their cherry tree patio and take in all those yummy flavors amidst sweeping views of Green Bluff and the foothills of Mount Spokane. There is literally not a better place in the 509 to gawk at the warm, dreamlike skies during golden hour. I've almost run out of room on my phone taking photos of it. That's actually a true story. The Wildland Co-op is family friendly, everybody's welcome, and if you'll recall, last year, their head brewer, Michael, took me up on the idea of making a signature beer for the Spokane Soccer Show. Remember the Double Pivot Pub Ale? We're doing it again this year, folks. No announcements yet, but stay tuned. We're going to do a different beer. We don't even know what we're going to do yet, but we're going to do something really cool. For more information, go to their website or follow them on Instagram, Wildland Co-op. That's wildland.coop. We have one more game to talk about from a week. Are you guys ready to do it?
Let's do it.
The U.S. Open Cup game. Velocity 1, Tacoma Defiance 2. I will set this one up and then we could talk about some details. Spokane conceded in the 3rd minute, my friends, and here's how it happened. Have you ever heard the expression switched off? Mm-hmm. It was like we were still on the team bus. Javier Martin Hill lost track of a runner down the left wing in minute 3. Sebastian Gomez. Jack Denton, meanwhile, is kind of jogging back to help. Cameron Miller is too close to the keeper to be useful. You heard me talk about Brandon Frick earlier in the Greenville game. And so, what that means is that forward, I don't speak Spanish, but I'm going to give this a shot. Osaze de Rosario is in all kinds of space. Look, he's a center forward. I think he meant to try to beat our goalkeeper, Ryan Bilichuk, to the far post, but he actually missed it badly. It was an attempted shot, ends up right at the feet, okay, because Ish Jome isn't, so Ish is the next player I'm going to shout out for just being kind of asleep, isn't marking the back post, and this kid, this South Korean winger named Junmo Kang, is right there, and he's like, thank you very much, taps it in, it's 1-0 in the 3rd minute, and I was just like, mother effer. Minute 3, Open Cup game, we're not at home, and we're down 1-0. Not what you want.
Did not see us concede in the 3rd minute, which is not something you want to do.
Nope. Not in a knockout game, bro.
I saw Nils ball for our goal, which was fantastic.
We'll come to that.
And our goal, I celebrated.
Yeah.
I think that Tacoma was young and kind of what I talked about, similar to Ballard, like that type of team that's like, similar to the college game, like very scrappy, very direct, also very able to create chances. Like they did hit the crossbar of the woodwork 3 times, I believe, and
Dude,
but
insane.
nothing really methodical or, it's not like they were just dynamite on the ball and switched it on us and made us work. Like they were just direct, crafty, and pretty competitive.
And had a couple players who were super skillful.
Yeah.
Totally.
And I think it's clear that we had played a lot of games in a lot of days and are still trying to figure out our squad. And
let's be really clear, not playing our first quote-unquote team. Mike, what were your impressions? And then I'll go over some of the details that I have on the game.
I thought we played an opposition that was more energetic than us, a bit more direct.
Yep.
And, they kind of ran us ragged a little bit. But I think Jesse's evaluation was about correct.
The thing about that goal that we conceded early is that, sadly, it was probably... this was like one of those where it's a very different game if we don't concede that goal early. I mean, I will give credit to Tacoma Defiance as these young players that probably want to go out and show their stuff. A lot of direct play, a lot of individual skill. I'm going to go beat a defender one-on-one and take a shot, whatever. They were pretty well disciplined and organized in that low block shape. Neil Vignals got the start at central attacking midfielder, the role that is typically occupied by Luis Heel. Had a couple nice chances in the first half. One from a well-struck free kick that needed a good save from the Defiance keeper. And then this is when everything changed and we got back in the game. This is the goal that we scored. Luis Collin and Siobhan John Brown came on in the second half, and it was a totally different game. Minute 78, this is when the goal happens. Siobhan plays Vignals in down the right. It's a great ball. Ball one. Luis makes a center forward run into the box. We were talking about how he was operating in the Greenville game. Splits the defenders, exactly what you want a center forward to do, but it's Luis Heel. Vignals, like, it's inch perfect. The weight's perfect. It's a great cross. Barely a touch from Luis Heel, but it's also perfect. Goes into the goal off the back post. 3 touches, all high-quality touches from 3 of our best players. And that's how we got back into the game. From there until the final whistle, I would say that the game kind of opened up and become super entertaining. And Tacoma, as Jesse was describing, hit the post several times. All of the Defiance wingers were excellent in the game, by the way. This substitute named Edson Carley, if you're familiar with any of these players, feel free to shout him out. He cut in on his left foot in minute 83. He not only hit the crossbar, folks, he hit the post too. It hit the crossbar and then bounced off the post. That is extremely hard to do. You could score 50 goals before you do that. So shout out to Edson Carley. And then forward, Tsukanome, Japanese kid, great midfielder / forward. He hit the bar 5 minutes later. Then Sebastian Gomez, who we mentioned earlier, he hit the bar 5 minutes into extra time. Then it was minute 99. The goal that we conceded was from Edson Carley. Lots of endeavor. He crosses the ball into the box on the right side. Goes in off of Marcelo Lage. It's an own goal. I don't think there's much that Marcelo knew about it. He's just like standing in the right place at the wrong time, however you want to describe it. And Defiance, I will admit, I think they had the best chances in the game, especially in extra time. So we can't really complain. It was fantastic to see us get back in it and to tie the game. Pelaez got on his bike in minute 120. I don't know if you guys remember this. He took a bicycle.
Yeah.
But it was,
I did.
It was
remember that.
pretty sick, but it was unfortunate.
It was close.
Right at the keeper. Yeah. 10 times better, 100 times more entertaining game than the 3-1 loss that we suffered to Tacoma in our preseason game last year. We're still in 2 competitions. We're still in the league, and we're still in the Jägermeister Cup. And I don't know that you'll get much complaint out of Lee Wiedemann to say au revoir to the Open Cup. Any other thoughts about this game before we move on?
No. I mean, I was excited to hopefully get Defiance back and prove who is the real D3 soccer team around here, but,
No. There's another topic I'm going to tease here, but we're going to talk about it later. And here it is, and I just want to throw it out as a little bit of a taster, palate cleanser, if you will. There are a bunch of players on both Ballard and Tacoma Defiance that are wrapped up in the world of the Sounders Academy on the west side, who, if you're faced with an opportunity to play professional soccer in the United States, again, we're not going to go ham on this, but I just want to tee it up because I want to talk about it on a future podcast. That if you're looking around the landscape of professional soccer in the U.S. and you go, well, I just graduated from Seattle University or University of Washington. I'm a really talented soccer player, but I'm probably not, I might be a couple years away from getting a crack at playing for an MLS team, including my beloved Sounders, even though I've been in their academy. I might go play for Tacoma Defiance, like Peter Kingston. Peter Kingston went to University of Washington. He played for Ballard FC against us last year in the Open Cup, and he played for Tacoma Defiance in this game that we just lost to Defiance. And he's a really talented player. And I hope he gets a crack with MLS Sounders, the Seattle Sounders first team. But is he ever going to want to go play League One? You leave the MLS and you go play in the USL, there might not be a quick path back. I have witnessed that repeatedly. And so this question of the first round opponent for Tacoma Defiance was Washington Athletic Club. It's an amateur team, but it is populated by a bunch of studs who went to University of Washington, played in the Sounders Academy, but probably came to a point in their life where they're like, I'm not going to go play in a pre-professional amateur team for West Junction, a Seattle team, or Ballard, or even Tacoma Defiance. I'm going to go get a job for freaking Amazon, making 3 times as much money. So it's just a topic that I think is going to come up a lot when it comes to the development of U.S. soccer talent. And I know I've just said something super juicy. The two of you are probably like, are we going there? That's a whole podcast unto itself. And maybe I don't even put this in the podcast, but are you willing to come back and have a conversation about that? Because I couldn't help thinking about that stuff. Every time we play these League 2 teams on the west side or a MLS Next Pro team like Defiance, I'm like, it's on my mind.
Do you have pizza again?
It's like, how long are we going to stay here? You could do a TLDR. You could be like, hey, I get it, or whatever. I'm just kind of curious. Is that a topic that you guys want to come discuss with me sometime?
I think that topic is very juicy and also has a lot of meat.
All right.
It's
Mike?
meat and juicy.
And
Juicy meat, Mike.
Juicy meat.
someday we'll be very hungry
All right,
for
fine.
that topic.
I get it. Let's not do that. All right. So far, let's talk about our Velocity FC 2025 impressions. I'm going to start with that back line, adding David Garcia and Lucky Opara from, you know what, it might be Opera, it might be Opera. I got to find out. I'm going to ask Lucky how to pronounce his last name. But some vocal help for Carlos Marancio, someone to just like, I think David Garcia, by inclination and reputation, is a little bit more of an outspoken center half. Is that kind of what we've been looking for? Or just the positional poise that Jesse was describing? Thoughts about the back line so far?
I think something we didn't shout out. I think
Okay.
Ron, Big Ron,
Oh,
shout
yeah.
out Cameron.
Okay.
He obviously, if we're not aware of his journey as a youth soccer player and a professional soccer player, it's really unique. And
Do it.
I think,
No,
well,
I don't know if people do know.
I know he's a Snohomish kid.
Yep.
I know he played at Wacom.
Yep.
I know he then went to Seattle University. I love he has that kind of swag about him that he's like he's going to earn his minutes every single time he plays a match. And
Yeah.
regardless of what, I think he's a player that's still, I think what's interesting is that you can still develop. I don't know if like anyone realizes this, but in your 20s, in your 30s, like you can get smarter, you can get better, you can get technically more efficient. And I think he's a player that is kind of like continuing to do that.
Yep.
And I think he wins so many balls in the air.
Oh, my God.
And I think when you have
And he provides so much threat on set pieces.
yeah, he scores off of set pieces, and I think when you have a center back like him that owns space so incredibly well and wins aerial duels, and then you have a passing center back, like I like that. I'm a big fan. And I love our outside backs. I like the addition of Lucky Opara. Love Derek. Who else has been? If we had do we have another left-sided?
I think Lucky's going to deputize as
Okay.
another one, so that then Javier Martin Hill would be probably restored as a
I
starting
thought
right back.
Javi started some games at left back.
And we've
as
got
well.
Ish.
Yeah,
that's right, Ish.
Dude, Ish. Yeah, I've had my questions about Ish before. He's played some really good games this year.
Yeah.
Even the game, I remember one time against the Naples game, I was like, at the beginning of the game, I was like, I'm not sure, man. I'm not really sold on this. And then he was one of our best players that game.
Yeah.
So, yeah. That would be our other player.
I think the back four, I think coaching staff and they're starting to identify exactly the back four that they are going to start with consistently. And then something that we were talking about, and we'll add it into the back four, you mentioned the goalkeeper, and we were discussing, again, we're not the coaching staff, but is there a battle for the top, like your top keeper, or who's going to play more of the games? We don't know, but I think that there's got to be, you know what I mean? There's got to be, because we discussed this earlier, we had a top keeper last year, and I think it is a huge piece of why we were in the final. And I think in order for us to be competitive and actually win things, that's a piece of the puzzle that hopefully will solve itself, between those two keepers. Or
I'm super happy for Brooks Thompson, who is now a goalkeeper for Lexington SC in the USL Championship, because that's where they moved up. But he's a backup, and that part bums me out.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I get it. You got to crack at playing the championship, but you're a backup on. I don't know where Lexington's going to finish. I don't think it's going to be one of the better teams in the USL Championships between you and I. So I'm kind of sad for him. It's like,
Yeah.
Anyway.
And we brought in Belichick, and my point is
Yeah.
he just to have a second keeper, or
I
is
don't think so.
or is this big time competition to see who's going to
He
be
was
number one?
he balled out of his mind against Ballard.
Yeah.
He's the reason that we won
Big
that
save.
game.
Big
Two
save.
big saves.
Yeah.
2 big saves.
Yeah.
Got down low, pushed it off of the left post, and then made that stop against, I can't remember the name of the kid, for Ballard, who then he pushed it up over the bar. Both those saves were they were goal bound. So, do you have thoughts? Backline,
I think that
specifically.
yeah. So I think competition for places is a good thing, like from a coaching perspective.
Yep.
I think Lee has 2 at right back. If you count Ish as a left back, we got 2 at left back. We have 4 center backs that he all trusts.
Yep.
He trusts all of them.
Yep.
So he believes in them. And if you really want to play 100% of the minutes, that's too bad. So rotation's a thing. It's a big car crash league. You're going to need players, and I think whoever's playing the best will be there for the playoff run.
And it's so exciting to have all this depth. Because we are still in two competitions. Jalen Chrysler balled out against Ballard as well. He was one of our most important players where I was like, oh, I'm pretty sure Jalen Chrysler just earned a starting spot as a center half for Velocity FC after that game. And then we haven't seen him since. I don't think he's got any kind of, maybe he's just getting match fit. But yeah, you're right. We do have 4 outstanding center backs. I just want to, this is the stuff I love doing, and I might just include this in the podcast because I enjoy it. This one's for me, folks. So the combination of David and Cameron, I'm saying, I think I'm the first person who shouted out David filling a gap for communication on the back line, being vocal, being willing to get in someone's face in his among his teammates to say, we got to do this, we got to do this, we got to do this. I don't, he obviously is bilingual. He can speak both languages. Carlos, I don't know where he's at with English. I don't know if it's as strong as David. David's a chatty dude, and he speaks very good English. I'll just tell you that right now. So is he providing that in addition to the positional play that you were talking about? A lot of poise, knowing where to be, not making any huge mistakes, not taking a lot of risks, always being where he needs to be to break up counters, etc. Meanwhile, Cameron, Big Ron, will take those risks. He'll win the vast majority of aerials. Is that just a great 1-2 combination as your starting center halves? One dude who's just I'm going to make sure I batten down the hatches and no bullshit gets past us, and I'm going to yell at people. And the other guy's I'm going to go up and I'll win every header. I might not win every one of them, but I'll win the vast majority of them. Is that a great combination?
I think so. To put it plainly, I think Mike mentioned it, having 4 center backs that's a fantastic problem to have.
Yeah.
And I would love to have even 1 center back on my youth team sometimes, but 4 center backs is a great problem to have. And yeah, I think the pairing that you just talked about of how you pair your center backs and what their characteristics and player profile is, I think that's super important for us to have solidify. And
Yeah.
I think that, who knows, I'm not on the coaching staff, but that could be the right pairing. Yeah. I like it.
Let's talk about center forwards. Nico Brett's injury, kind of a concern. I just hope it's not one of those where it's just bugging him all year, because he's 30, just turned 33. He spent a year off, so I'm gonna have my eyes on that, because Anwar Pelaez is also an older center forward, 32, I think, and is going to turn 33 at some point in this season. So center forward, we need them. But we do have Siobhan John Brown. We do have Marky Hernandez. I think Marky Hernandez could play kind of a false 9 role. So, Luis, we spent half this podcast talking about Luis being I'm the center forward now. So, I don't know. Maybe we'll be okay, even if we have a couple older center forwards, pure 9s. Any thoughts on our center forward stuff?
I think they look more dangerous than we did in that position last year.
Yeah.
I think they're a bit more excited to get in the penalty area, which is a quality that every team needs at center forward, but specifically this team, because we often are firing around those areas. So having a center forward that's excited to be on the end of it, pretty important.
Great point. The role of Neil Vinyals. That's my final note about the current observations about the team. And I'm sure we could go on and on about the state of affairs, the state of the union for Velocity FC. But the fact that Luis Gil he's nailed on as our starting 10. He has been our talisman since the first moment he started playing for us. And the fact that he bagged a pair of goals as making center forward runs against Greenville just speaks to that. Not to mention the goal that he scored off of service from Neil Vignoles against Tacoma Defiance. How are we going to use Vignoles? I'm really confused, and I'm not going to say concerned. It's great to have the depth, but it's like one of our best freaking players, in case folks don't realize this, is this player we signed, Neil Vignoles from Richmond Kickers. He's one of the most decorated League One players in the history of the league in terms of assists. I think he's, second now, maybe tops. So how do we use both of those players and get them both into the starting 11?
From my perspective, the way I viewed a lot of the signings is I think that the coaching staff has put a lot of consideration into that depth of like having quality in all positions for training purposes, for multiple competitions.
Great point. And competition for places is so key.
And knowing that we're traveling a lot, putting a lot of games in, I mean, it could be that he provides cover for Luis down the road. It could be that he plays in at 8. I think I'm sure that conversation's already been had with him of what, how he fits into the team and what that's going to look like. I think he's on board
totally
with the mission. You know what I mean?
It's a similar conversation we had about Marky Hernandez when we were previewing the team.
Yeah.
When I talked to his former coach, Ayman Zayed, about how he feels about being a quote-unquote super sub.
Yeah.
Of course he would like to start. But he's also like, when I run at tired defenses in the last 20 minutes of the game, it's kind of fun. It's why he's contributed he's like one of the best scorers in the history of League One, and a lot of it has been as a substitute. So, yeah. Mike?
I would like to maybe draw a comparison to Nil coming into the team in the same type of situation as like Albert Rusnak coming into the Sounders. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but Nico Ladero was the 10.
Yep.
And Rusnak came in and played as part of like an 8. And then when Ladero departed, he's now the main man. So he like plays in that 10 role. So it might be, I mean, you have a player that's that smart and that helpful, and Nil is definitely like that. Like, just get him on the field. So if he's going to be a part of our evolving role for our 8-6 position, great. Colin's happy to sit there. He can go do more. If he's going to be a winger that comes in and tucks inside to offer something different.
That's admittedly what I've been interested in seeing. I assumed it would be on the left. Weirdly enough, against Defiance, it was on the right in that moment where that link-up play with Siobhan John Brown led to the goal by Luis. But, yeah, to your Ladero example, they've played together briefly, but then he's also been used to spell Luis as a 10. So maybe that is kind of a situation we're looking at. And he's a couple years younger than Luis Hill. So I have a feeling Neil Vignoles, folks, you heard it here first, could be in Spokane for the rest of his career. It wouldn't surprise me. He's a fantastic player. Okay, I'm going to look forward to this weekend real quickly and tell people what they can go find in the Spokane community for professional soccer. Let's tee it up. Are you ready? Zephyr FC this weekend versus Dallas Trinity at One Stadium on Saturday at 6 p.m. Kenzie Weiner, in case you missed it, scored her first goal for the club in the last game against Brooklyn. Many more to come. Sophie Braun's back from international duty, which we talked about at the beginning of the podcast. Dallas Trinity have been an interesting rival for us. We are 1-1-1 in 3 games against them. They won here 2-1. If anybody remembers, controversial no call. Kenzie Weiner got taken out by the goalkeeper who claimed after that she got a little bit of the ball. And slow motion video evidence suggests she got 0% of the ball, and it should have been a pen. That was the last time we played at One Stadium. So we have drawn 1 with them at their stadium. We beat them 1-0 the last time in late February. So I'm very eager to see that game because that's top of the table versus the informed team in the Super League. Velocity FC, meanwhile, will be playing against newcomers Texoma FC on Sunday at 4 p.m. Texoma have played 4 games, folks, as a club so far, and they've lost all of them. They've conceded 10 and scored 2. It's not looking great. Don't take those teams lightly, though. You never know. What was it? LA Force, minute 85. You know?
And they were good. They looked good on that day. They had that chubby guy that scored the goal in the other one.
Editor's note, they did not actually, in fact, look very good. In fact, we, and the 3 of us in this room, spent a lot of time in that match making fun of them for being extremely out of shape.
They looked good for how out of shape they were.
But they looked good, meaning that it took...
Every game is a game.
It took, like, a half a chance in minute 85 for us to get something from that game. So shout out LAFC wherever you are now. LA Force, sorry, not LAFC. That's it for the show. We made it. It's been a long one. This is probably going to edit down to an hour and 30 or something. But you know what? I love you both. Thank you for coming back on the Spokane Soccer Show.
Love you, Benji.
Don't forget the following. Subscribe to the podcast. I know this sounds weird, but it does matter. Go to Spotify, hit the follow button. Go to YouTube, hit the subscribe button. Subscribe doesn't mean you pay anything. It just means you suddenly get alerts when I release a podcast, which I record on video. And sometimes I include a bunch of video clips. On this one, I might not, but you never know. It's just follow wherever you are. And if you didn't know, it's important to rate and review as well. And follow on Instagram. That's where most of my updates come from. In the meantime, thank you for listening. Shout out Mike Pellicio, Jesse Retan.
Thank you for having us, Benji.
Thanks, Benji.
You put in a shift, boys.
We've been here for 5 hours
You
recording,
played great,
guys.
and there's another cheer in the background. My God.
I'm actually locked to the chair right now.
Yeah, I'm tied up. Please call help.
Yeah, my ass is paralyzed right now. And there's another yelp. What the f*** is going on
I
over
don't
there?
know.
I don't know. They're cheering for us.